Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the wild orcish west. In the last episode, we built this orcish war wagon entering the Badlands to establish a brand new city or a brand new town. The war wagon was our way to kind of see what an orcish wild west might look like. So in today's episode, I do want to build the actual town, or start building the actual town. So when it comes to Wild West towns, one of the main things you'll notice when you enter a town is it has this like signage kind of telling you where you're entering. It's this kind of like ranch style gate, I guess you could say, or not, it wouldn't be really a gate. It's more of like a city signage. And I think I came up with a pretty decent name for this orcish settlement. So we think we're gonna double down on the bone theme, and we're gonna use like bone or tusk in the name. So to start the city, let's build some orcish signage. Oh my, it's getting pretty dark actually. Fits a theme. I'm just gonna do that there, buddies. Carry on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the orcish town of Tuskstone. The name Tuskstone is inspired by the real-life city of Tombstone, Arizona. It was a Wild West town back in the day, and it's very well known for its cowboys. So I think it kind of works out that, you know, instead of Tombstone, it's Tuskstone. And then we did add some tusks to it to kind of give it that, you know, give it the complete look for Tuskstone. We used a lot of copper in this case because it has a variation in the oxidization level. So you're able to actually write out the words and have it connected like this and still be kind of legible. I tried to do it with like stone, but it kind of looked like an absolute mess when you just had like one single type of stone type. Another really cool thing about this build style is you can actually use the dripstone. I think the dripstone works really well for the orcish style since it's got those spikes. So I'm gonna probably try to use a lot of dripstone for this area as well. Pale oak is already one of my favorite blocks to build with. The trap doors just help add so much more like curvature to white builds, and then like it adds so much for bones now. You do these nice small little details now with the white blocks, which is fantastic. One of the key features of a Wild West town is it has a mounted skull at the top. So we went with kind of like a longhorn style, which is very fitting because they're actually adding longhorn like variants to the cows. And they're actually gonna be spawning in this region, which is gonna be fantastic for my ranching roleplay, I guess. Honestly, this would be quite a massive cow skull, so this is probably not actually a cow. Maybe that cow is what's dragging this thing along. Okay, but now that we have an actual entrance to our town here, we can kind of work a little more on some buildings for the area. Building this kind of helps us set the layout for the town. So in between this signage, we would have a really large street. You'll notice in Wild West towns that they have a very wide main street. So I think we want to do that, but since I might be resetting some of these chunks, I don't want to tear this down and kind of place down blocks because I'm most likely going to be resetting every single chunk in this area except for the parts that I built in, which kind of sucks because one of the first things you want to do when you're building a town or a village or a city, you want to lay out the road infrastructure because it'll tell you where you can put buildings and whatnot. Obviously, you don't have to do the entire road typically, but it's a good blueprint at least to tell you where you can place builds and where you shouldn't place builds. So for the next order of business, we want to build our first building in this town. So I want to kind of brainstorm an idea for the first building. I don't want to go too crazy on this build since I am planning on resetting a lot of these chunks. So I don't want to build it like all the way down there, for example, and then have to kind of reset the chunks in between. So I want to build a building right in the front of this area. So I think we're going to be building one right around this area right here. So I think I'm going to do something pretty unlike me, and I'm going to build on camera, which I never build on camera. I mean, typically when I plan in survival, we get things like uneven signage. But this is going to be a pretty basic build, so I think we can do the whole creative process in survival, and that way I can kind of walk you through my creative process as well. I have no idea what I'm doing anyways because this is a brand new build style in general. All right, so the road is starting on this block right here, and I don't want the road to dip too deep. So I think what we'll do is we're probably going to be filling in parts of this like terrain right here. So I think we'll have the road flush with the white terracotta so that the height difference in the road isn't too crazy. Typically in Wild West themes, you'll see that it's like a flat, straight road. So I don't want to have the terrain be too, hilly and whatnot. I do want it to have some height differentiation, which is why we're not gonna just build it completely flat, just so it helps add to the interest to the area. So before we start the creative process of the build, we need to clean up this area a little bit. So we need to raise the floor one level, at least for the meantime. All right, so now that we have a somewhat flat surface, I did opt to save some material by not filling in that part. I will be building on top of it anyway, so I don't need to fill it all the way. All right, so disclaimer, I am not a historian and I am not an architect, so take what you will from what I say. So stereotypically, Wild West architecture follows a style called Western false front architecture. Basically, it is a style that has these facades at the front to kind of hide the actual building in the back. The building in the back is like a pretty basic building with like a gabled roof, and a gabled roof is like the V roof. So the false front is basically a facade that is kind of built on the front to kind of show like, oh, this place is so well built and whatnot, but actually it is all phony. It's all fake. It's like a movie set kind of. All right, so the road is on this block right here, and then the buildings should be right on this line. But the first few blocks is going to be the porch. So we're going to have the building start probably around here. So the first thing we're going to do is start with a rectangle, and I think we'll do a 9 by 13 box. So we'll go 9 this way and then 13 down. So let's see. So we start with a pillar. So in between, in the middle, we'll have like a thing like this. For pretty small, simple buildings, I like to keep a little like base layer on the bottom. It's kind of like the foundation, just to differentiate from the actual blocks that we're going to be filling in later. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got 8 blocks there, and then we'll go, whoops. So go 1 block here for the 9th block, and then we'll go 5 up. I think that's good. Typically, when I do the shaping of my builds, I use diamond blocks because I'm building in creative mode. But since I'm not in creative mode, we're going to be kind of putting actual material in. But so this is going to be the front facade, and then since this is a side, I don't have to use like all the nice blocks. So I did say for the false front architecture that the actual building itself is going to be pretty basic. So for the front side, this is a facade. We're going to use composters because it's, to look nicer on the front. But for the side, I'm going to save some material because composters are a little expensive. And we'll just kind of have the side using oak logs. It's got that little texture to it. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So the building would go all the way back here. That is most definitely a rectangle if I've ever seen one. But so the next part is we're going to fill in the kind of the wall, and I think we'll use birch planks. We're not going to do any texturing at the moment just because I'm not too sure that I want to use birch yet. Let's see. Birch. So I think we will use the birch for now, just to get the shaping, and then if we really don't like the birch later, then we can kind of remove it. But at the moment, I think we'll stick with the birch until we get the proper shape. Another reason why I do not build in survival is because I do change the colors a lot. I am partially colorblind. I've got some red-green color blindness, so I do change colors a lot. You can imagine that building solely in survival, like on the fly, would take a lot more time if I'm like setting all this up and then having to demolish it all. All right, box is done and it's looking pretty stupid, but you know, we'll suffice there. Apparently I didn't bring any freaking stone, so I need to go mine some stone real quick so we can do the roofing. One of the greatest downsides of playing how I play, building kind of nations throughout the world, is that a lot of my materials are kind of far away, and you know, sometimes you forget to bring materials and then you have to go all the way back. That's why for like basic items like stone and stuff, you can have a storage place in each spot. So you can do like, you know, have like a dwarven mine that's holding all the stone for the dwarven area. Or it's supposed to be my, you know, my world stone storage. But sometimes, you know, you don't want to go all the way back to your last town or city. So you can kind of store some like stone in, I don't know, like a mine for this area. Like I'm also lacking in the food department right now, which is why you can see my hunger bar is like at half, because I didn't bring any food with me, and I'm definitely gonna start starving, so I need to find some food. Kind of sucks that there's no food sources. It'd be cool if they added like, I know they're adding the cactus flower. If they added cactus fruit, that'd be pretty sick. Found some rotten flesh, delicious. Oh yeah, doesn't take me to the end though. So I guess we'll eat some glow berries while we're at it. Wow, this is low-key kind of depressing, I'm not gonna lie. So for the roof, we're gonna do a pretty basic thing. We're gonna use stone bricks. I never use stone bricks for my my ceilings or my roofs, but we're gonna do it today. The heck? And there you go, gabled roof in its simplest form. I didn't want it to go too high, so I opted to do a lot of slabs because I gotta hide this whole thing with the false front, so I don't want it to have the building go too high up. So now that we have the general shaping of the build, we can finally work on the actual facade. So I think what we'll do is we'll have like a little sign right here. A lot of the facades have like the name of the business or whatnot. So I think we'll do something like this. And it's getting dark, so we do have to go to sleep, but let us see. Bam. There you go. Lopsided. See? That's why we don't build in survival. When you're building like a massive build and you end up doing that on accident, you screw yourself up like 5 hours down the line. And a trader has arrived. But this is like the general signage shape, right? So we've got sign right here, and then the actual facade has to go up more to kind of cover this spot. Like this spot might not actually be the sign might actually be more on the top right here. Before that, let's see what our man's here has for us, because we actually don't even have emeralds in this area, so luckily nothing too good. I do like mangrove propagules, but I have found mangrove already, so luckily we don't need any of that stuff, but we do need those leads, and leads are acquired now. We will be using leads for a bunch of things. It is a wild western town after all, so definitely we'll need a lot of those. So actually we're gonna knock down this layer right here, and we're gonna build oak planks right here for the actual signage. So this part right here is probably gonna be covered by like a patio, like a porch roofing. So we won't really be having the sign on that spruce part. Like this spruce part right here is probably gonna be covered by a roof. So that way, that means this side will be the actual signage. So this layer will be the outline trim with spruce. So we'll have the outer layer. So we'll have the outer trim as spruce, and then you'll have something like this maybe. So something like this would be okay. It's a little flat though for sure. So I think what we'll do is we'll knock down this layer right here. And instead of full on spruce planks, we can use some spruce stairs to add a little more depth to the area. There you go. So now the sign has a slightly more depth and a little more detail to the actual signage. But next up, we need to build like the porch area. So I think what we'll do is probably like oak might be good. I want to use a lot of different wood types. And so one of the reasons why I think birch would actually be pretty good for this area is that it's a different wood type. I've been using a lot of dark oak, spruce, and regular oak. So the birch actually looks pretty good in this context. I think we'll use like spruce trap doors to kind of help bring in this little curvature to the porch. And then the porch itself will need some roof on top. So we'll do some more oak. We're gonna need a texture still, so you know, this is not the complete version. It's, you know, we're doing a very basic build right now. So holding up the porch roof would be some stilts, and then probably something like this. There you go. Instead of only using fences, fence gates are a really good transition to a lot of like the actual fence, the fence blocks. So we could probably also do like a trim of fence gates right here, but I'm thinking maybe we'll also have some like signage. So it's important as well to discuss what we're kind of building in this general area. So maybe this building, since it's in the front of the town or city, maybe it's like a general store or like maybe like a sheriff's office. Maybe a general store would probably be better. I don't want this building to be, you know, too crazy significant right now. We're just kind of hashing out the style of this general area. We'll probably have a doorway right around here. I want the door to be offset. So we'll have a door right there, and then probably like a window right around here, maybe a three large window, or maybe 2 windows like that. But this is what we're talking about, false front architecture. So the actual gabled roof now is covered by this facade. Obviously the roof is still kind of peeking out, so we will need to cover that part. Maybe just like, maybe I can just extend the sign out one more potentially, and that might block it off. But a lot of times for the false front architecture, the facade is very square. That is a typical like thing that they do for that architecture style, but we're gonna have to orcify it as well. So this is just the general shape, but it does look pretty plain at the moment. So I do want to add maybe like another attachment to the building, just to give the shape a little more interest. So maybe this part on the side won't be like actually walled, or maybe it will, I don't know. But it might be maybe like a patio that's kind of storing goods in the outside. And then it has like a roof to kind of just cover it from the elements a little bit. So we'll have a flat top roof right here. And, you know, for this type of area as well, there's not going to be much rainfall. So flat roofs work out pretty well for this style. And so now we take a look at it from the side, and bam. So I think this is a pretty good start for the Wild West part of the whole build. But now we need to orcify it. And so now what we need to do is we need to orcify it a little bit. We need to add a little bit of these bones as well as these dripstone spikes to kind of give it that orcish characteristic of the architecture. I think bones and spikes are a pretty integral part of like the orcish vibe. So we will be adding some bones. And then I think since we've got the general shape down now, I think we can also detail it, texture it, and call it good once we finish that. So it's time to orcify this general store. Cue the montage. Well, there we have it. Our very first building for this whole town. It's supposed to be probably a general store is what I was thinking. So we did a lot of detailing and texturing for this. We did end up adding some bones to the build. So we added these longhorn style bones kind of protruding out of the sign. And then also these little mini tusks that are also coming out of here. I didn't want it to look too flat, so that's why we have these bones kind of sticking outwards. But I think it's looking pretty good. We did end up texturing the birch with some stripped birch logs, and then we did add some oak signs as well to kind of give it that, like, it's like they're putting planks on and fixing parts of the build. Underneath this little extra segment here, we've got a bunch of random stuff scattered about. I imagine it's where they receive like new goods, so new shipments of stuff that they sell in the general store. I'm not too sure. I gotta figure out what to add in the interior. I did do a little bit of an interior here. We've got a little general store layout. I do need to add some like item frames and little blocks to this area, which I need to go back to kind of the Dwarven Kingdom area in order to find some blocks to decorate the interior of this with. But this is where the shopkeeper would be standing, getting ready to sell you any goods that you might need. So the general store would have all of these random goods that you'd probably need in the daily life of this area. And I think what we'll probably do is have the general store be our storage spot for the meantime. I did fill it up with a decent amount of barrels, so this will actually work pretty well for our storage area for this region. If anything, it'll be like a starter storage spot for this region, but we'll see. On the other side of the build, we added another rinky-dink storage spot that's just holding some dry wood. This is my imaginary rocking chair. Typically in like Western style films and stuff, you got some random dude, or probably the shopkeeper, that's sitting on the front porch like rocking his chair. So that is supposed to represent a rocking chair with that little spruce. Do need to add a little sign to this area, and I think the best way to do it would probably be adding banners. I think I want to be using those kind of throughout this world, so I think it wouldn't be a bad idea. This man's dancing for his keep up here. I did see a builder on Pinterest use invisible map art, which is something that I'm planning on doing for the series. I did make a video on that as well. I found that trick quite a few years ago now at this point, and I think it's a pretty good, like really good use to make like signage. But it's a very, very long, arduous process to make those signs, so I'm gonna pass. So the next order of business is heading back to the Dwarven Kingdom and going to our wool farm to get some banners. Well, we're in our wool farm area right now, and the primary reason we're here in this area is because I need some banners that have letters. So I want to make like the alphabet in the banners so that I can kind of hang them up on the orcish area for like signage. And honestly, like once you make the signs once, you can reuse them. So I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to invest some time into doing that right now. The only thing is I need a lot of red wool, and I found out that apparently a chunk loader in this area actually doesn't do a thing, because you need a player nearby in order for the kind of the grass to spread. And you know, because like since they eat the grass, the dirt doesn't grow back into grass if you're not, like, a player is not nearby, since it's I think it's based on like random tick. So unfortunately my red wool supply is probably not that much. Yeah, like only a stack, almost 2 stacks of red wool. For the signage, I think I want to do red wool with white letters. I think that's the most like fitting for an orcish style. Obviously I want to reuse these banners in the future for other regions. For the most part, I want to use this for the orcish area, since it's like a pretty significant part of the Western architecture, like with the signage and whatnot. So we're going to be doing a lot of banner crafting here with some red wool. So we just got to make some banners. Oh wow, banners are freaking expensive. I didn't realize 6 wool only makes you 1 banner. Well, this is going to be very slow and very painful, so I will see you in a little bit once we make some banners. We're finally finished with the banners. It took 30-40 minutes, even though I was following a guide still. So imagine if you had to do that without a guide. But there we have it. All of our banners for the alphabet in red and white. I think, red and white are very orcish colors. It's given that, red for blood and then white for all the bones and whatnot. So I think red and white's going to work pretty well for this area. Now that we have all the banners, we can actually head back to the orc settlement now. Doesn't look too bad actually with the banners. It is a little cartoony for the whole area, and it's also very clean. So there is one other option for the signage, and let's try to compare it and see which one looks better. And here is the second option. So this option just uses the regular Minecraft signs, and then there's this website that you can kind of take these big letters and paste them in. It does look a little janky. This option is a lot less cartoony, but it does have its own level of jank. Like this S here, S looks kind of bad. I do think it's still pretty legible though, so let me know in the comments what you think. If you like the banner or do you like the sign? I did ask some other people and someone did tell me that this vibe looks a lot more run down and a lot less wealthy, and then the banners look a lot more clean. So maybe a business like a bank would have something a lot cleaner with banners, but something like a general store that's probably not too wealthy, they just have some janky looking signs. We do also need to add some hanging signs. So maybe this one says fresh fruit, this one will say meat. And then we'll put one more sign. What would a general store sell? Maybe a newspaper. Newspaper. Bam. The letters are so small on those signs right now, but I don't know. Let me know what you think a general store would sell in an Orc Western. And maybe I'll come and change some of these signs over here. Since this will be the storage space for this area for the meantime, I brought an ender chest because having to travel thousands of blocks just to grab certain items is very, very annoying. So I'm gonna try to organize my ender chest to have kind of the essential items that I'll probably need to that would kind of cross over through different regions. That way I don't have to run back to all the way to the Dwarven Kingdom, for example, just to pick up a random block. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is all the time for this episode. If you did like the video, do leave a like and let me know in the comments what type of buildings you'd like to see in the Wild West. Anyways, I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.